Good morning, friends. Welcome to goonlinetrainings.com. So, let us discuss today uh, MSBI. In MSBI, we have SSIS and SSAS and SSRS. These are very, very important topics of MSBI. Today, let us concentrate on why we have to go in for SSIS and what is SSIS. Okay, so lots of training material is there from Microsoft too. You can refer these, training videos from Microsoft as well. And whenever you develop any BI application looks like this. So you have the data which is coming from different sources. You think about a company called, say IBM or Microsoft or Google or Amazon.com, or you may think about MRF tires. So any company in this world, they have lots of data. They have some data in SAP in Pune. They may have some data in say Excel sheets, maybe in India, Delhi or US, and they have some data in the .NET in Hyderabad, and they have some data in say Oracle, so New York or maybe in Chicago. So every company will have different servers. We're talking about enterprise level companies. So when the company is having lots and lots of users are there, customers are there, you will have lots of data is getting stored. When you have a lot of data in the different places and different applications, they're implementing, they're storing the data, and to perform the analysis. So what we have to do, or to processing the data, we have to do some kind of, we have to perform some kind of a logic over here, and we have to do some kind of analysis. Then you have to go to the Excel and do some kind of, write some kind of a program and perform some kind of analysis there. So I have to go to .NET. If I wanted to analyze this data, I have to ask .NET guys to perform this kind of a logic. So when I have the data in Oracle, I have to ask some Oracle developer to write some programming and analyze the data. So what I'm doing, all the data belong to a single company. Think about a MRF tires or think about Amazon.com. So they have lots of data, but the problem is that what are the issues here? Let us understand. So issues with the data we're talking about now. The first issue is that all the data of the company is not in the single environment. Single environment. They have, or all the data may be in multiple environments is the right word to use. Multiple, okay? So all the data is available in multiple environments. What do you mean by environments? Some data available in SAD, or SAP. Some data is in .NET. Some data is in say mainframe systems. Some data is in Java. Some data may be in databases, or some data is in files. Files like Excel, or you may have files like XML. Okay. XML, or you may have notepads, that it means flat files. Okay, so the data is available in different environments. That is the first issue with the data. If you wanted to analyze the data, the company would say, Bhaskar, we have the data in SAP, we have some data in .NET, we have some data in mainframe server, some data is in Java application. Okay, so end of the day, you have to understand this is the issue for you to get the data and do the analysis on that. The second thing is that the data size issues they have. So when they're having data, the size could be a small in size. Small means you may have some thousands of rows, or you may have the data medium size. Could be you having data with the lakhs of rows or millions of rows, 10 million, 20 million data. Okay, when the size of the data could be in bigger size and bigger, and you may have large size, small, and you have large, and you have largest, very big, and okay, and more. So when you have small size data, it is it is very simple, so that you can write any kind of a program and you can analyze. When you have medium size data, could be millions of rows, you have thousands of rows, millions of rows, billions of rows, and more than that. So when you have this kind of data, how do you handle the data? So this is where the data issue we're talking about, issues with the data. The data is available in any company in different environments and in the different sizes. And the third thing is that if they store the data has having accuracy issues. What is that? The data accuracy may not be there. So some you have low accuracy. For example, when you store the data in notepads or Excel files, so the gender column may have any kind of a wrong output. For example, gender column should have male female, but there is a z, or salary column should have integer value, but there is a xyz, or you may have married column may have married true or false, but there's some other, sometimes you have true or false, sometimes married yes, sometimes married, sometimes no. So this kind of a values, different notations people have used. Okay, accuracy means low accuracy, not very clean data. That is the meaning. Or you may have a medium cleaning, or you may have cleaned the data is in high accuracy. Okay, this is what. So, for example, when you store the data in the databases, you have very cleaned data. Okay, you may have some kind of a duplicates also. Accuracy means lots of duplicates are there, lots of spelling mistakes are there, and lots of incorrect values are there, lots of wrong values are there. So this is the data the company has, but all this data belong to a single company here we're talking about. Think about MRF types or Amazon.com. So whenever you have the data, they have data in different applications. For example, they have implemented SAP. So whenever you go to India and buy a product in India, so your computer is connected to SAP server which is implemented in say India, and whenever you purchase some products, the product data will be stored in SAP. But when you go to Singapore, Amazon.com, when you go to Singapore, purchase something, the Singapore, people are using, Singapore Amazon is using a .NET environment. So whenever you purchase any product in Singapore, the data would go to .NET. So end of the day, whether they are using SAP or .NET or mainframe, when you go to China of Amazon.com, when you go to China, then buy a product, all the the purchases people are doing in China, that will be recorded in mainframe database. Or when you go to say Europe, or when you get as a German, so German the Amazon is implemented with Java technology. So you have to think that end of the day environment is different, but what is the same? The data is the same. What is the data? Product data. You have customer data, you have delivery data, you have the payment data. So this is the data, the quantity data, the comments data. So the data is the same, but only thing is that some data is stored in SAP, some data is stored in mainframe, some data is stored in Java, because of whatever be the reason they have using. For example, in India they think that Java is the better because the India crowd is more. So here they may not be able to implement say some XYZ technology, so something like that. So because of the size, because of the business size and the budget and lots of things come into existence, they may choose one kind of a platform. But end of the day, the end user do not know whether I'm using Java or .NET. End user will see www.amazon.com. That's it. So, but behind the scenes, it is Java. It could be a .NET. It could be X or Y or Z. Clear? Now, that is how the data is being stored. So accuracy is also, so they may have some kind of a call center. In the call center, they may use this kind of a files. For example, whenever I say and call up a call center saying that I received a product yesterday, but which was damaged, then they'll select some data. Tell me your number, you blah blah blah, and they're going to record all this data in Excel sheets. And that Excel sheet from the call center will go to the head office, the corporate office of Amazon.com or delivery centers of Amazon.com, something like that. So everywhere there is a data. So low, medium accuracy. So this is what I'm talking about. Accuracy will not be there. Accuracy I'm talking about. Okay, accuracy means correctness of the data. So this may be there, may not be there. So now the fourth condition is that data is available and the data is available in different locations I'm talking about. What is that? Some data is available in India, some data is available in US and UK and say Russia and things like that. Are you getting? So When the company is having these kind of data issues, when they say they will come and they'll say only one thing, you have to analyze my data. When they say this question, you have to analyze my data. The question is first, where is your data? You'll ask, where is your data? And what are the environments you are using? What is the size of the data? What is the accuracy levels in which you're storing the data? So if this is the question, and you have to ask those above questions so that you will understand where they're storing the data. Are you able to understand? So you have to analyze the data, but to analyze the data, first I have to understand how is your data stored, how is your environments are there, and what kind of accuracy levels you have. All of them you have to important. So this is what is very important. Okay, so when anybody asking this question, when you get this answer, so this is where I have my data, this is where the accuracy levels, then you have to start taking all the data from these applications, and this is where we have to use ETL tools. Okay, so get the data from different locations and get the data from multiple environments and get the data from different sizes and get the data from different accuracy levels. So whatever be the tool you are using, so here we have to use ETL tool. Microsoft SSIS is a ETL tool we are going to use. Okay, so what do you mean by ETL? ETL stands for extract the data. So ETL stands for what? Extract the data. Then you have to say transform the data. Then you should be able to load the data. Okay. So Microsoft is going to give you this tool. So you should be able to connect this kind of applications. And here we are going to use SSIS tool. You can connect to anything, any applications here. All the data we're going to load to the staging database. Now this is also one more server, staging server people would call it as, and the staging server will have a database only. And here you're going to remove duplicates. When you have duplicated data that you're going to store, for example, whenever you store the data in a call center. For example, I call up in the morning, I say my name is Bhaskar Jogi. I had got a product yesterday, it was damaged. And again after one day also I'll call up call center saying that I got a product 2 days back, it got damaged. So the entry is made twice. Bhaskar Jogi reported twice to the Amazon.com call center. So probably they may receive my complaint twice. So you may have some kind of a duplicate data. So that you have to remove. So remove the data, and sometimes you wanted to merge the data. For example, I have first name, middle name is there. So I wanted to have a full name. So first name, middle name, or last name wanted to be merged as a full name and store it here. And I may have sometimes full name there. I wanted to have split the data, first name, middle name, last name, or I wanted to convert the data. So end of the day, you have to read the data, and however you need the data, you may merge, you may split, you may convert the data, and you're going to load again all this data to a data warehouse server. So when somebody asks what is a warehouse, warehouse is also a database only. But only thing is that warehouse will have lots and lots of hardware. So when you take a simple computer and install Oracle there or SQL Server there, simply it is normal SQL Server laptop. When you buy a bigger hardware, probably my laptop contains 1 TB hard disk and or some core 5 uh, i5 say generation of processor and 1 TB and 4 GB of RAM. But when you have large capability of processing, processing capabilities of hardware and huge RAM, for example, 500 GB of RAM and say 1000 TB of terabytes of hard disk. When you have large amount of hardware, and in that when you install SQL Server Oracle, and that computer is known as a data warehouse as a layman. So what are the other differences we'll discuss later. But data warehouse means it is also one more database server only, one more SQL Server, one more Oracle, one more Teradata. These RDBMSs you have to install it there. But software wise, there is no difference. There is same software you have to install. Only thing is that hardware wise, it is very, very big. And data warehouse will have different designing algorithms we have to use. And what are the designing we are going to use in the data warehouse? It is, dimension modeling. So that's what we have to discuss later. And however we are designing our applications, for example, these applications, okay? So this is where SAP is going to store the data in Oracle, and .NET is going to store the data in SQL Server, and Oracle we have separate database. When you have the data here, so all these applications stores the data in databases, and or you have the data in the Excel sheet. So end of the day, the data would be going from either from databases or from the files only, Excel files, only these two. Okay. So when you wanted to implement this kind of a applications here, we are going to use a concept called ERD modeling. So ERD modeling is used to maintain this kind of applications. So data warehousing is going to use a concept called dimension modeling to design the data warehouses. So later we'll discuss what is a dimension modeling and all. So at the time we're talking about data warehousing concepts, because I'm going to cover minimum 5 days data warehousing concepts I'm going to discuss. In that time, I'm going to tell you what is a data warehouse. Okay. As of now, you understand what is a data warehouse. Data warehouse also means a, a separate, a large database only. That's what you have to understand. Now, wherever you're collecting data from different places. For example, you have opened your laptop and you're in India and you're buying a mobile phone. So from your laptop, you will be connecting to one, for example, you're in, say, Hyderabad. In my location, you are there, and there is a server, it will take all the data. So you will be connected to this server, and the products which are purchased, the data would come here. Try to understand. So whenever I go to some other location, and for example, in that location, could be I'm connected to the laptop with that. So whenever I purchase something, the data would go to this location, this data. So end of the day, the people are buying some products and they're connected to the different the servers, and they're storing the data. So whenever you purchase any product, so whenever you give a complaint, all the data is stored, and this kind of data is known as a transactional data. Transactional data means day-to-day business data. So you buy something, and the product has to be couriered or delivered to you. So whenever you buy something, day-to-day business data, transactional data, this data is will be stored somewhere, and these servers are known as OLTP servers. Okay, these servers are known as OLTP servers. And what is OLTP? I'm introducing here. You have to be very clear. So OLTP means so online transaction processing. Online transaction processing. That means whenever you buy any product from the Amazon.com, your data will be reaching to OLTP. OLTP means a fresh data, online transaction processing. Clear? So this is what we're talking about. Sorry. Okay, so all the data would reach your online transaction processing. Transactions means it can be buying, selling, transferring. For example, yesterday I transferred 30,000 bucks to my dad account. So transferring is also I have to give my account number, my dad's account number, and the amount and the date in which I have to transfer. So this is also a transaction. Whenever I transferred from my laptop, it has transferred. So for example, I'll be hitting a Hyderabad server and transfer the data. Now, all this data is stored. But what is going to happen? One day, these servers are full, because these servers will have, size limitations. So, this when the data is full, what we are going to do? We have to extract the data, transform the data, load the data. All the data from here, you have to extract it and you have to put it in centralized DB, and you clean the data from here, and you have to load the data into the data warehouse. Okay, I'll give you one simple example to understand. Okay, for example, the government of US or government of India, You think that you should not dig bore wells and get the water from the bore well, and you don't have the water. So normally the government is supplying the water to you. So when there's a street, we have 3 to 4 taps are available, especially in India. It will be like this. So the water comes at morning 6 o'clock. The people have to take the bucket. So you have to take the bucket, one plastic bucket, one silver bucket, whatever you having. You take the bucket and go to the taps. When the bucket is full, what you're going to take, you lift the bucket of water and you come to your house, and there is a big drum or the tank is available. So data warehouse just like a drum or the tank. You get the water in this bucket. This bucket is full. Okay, you get this water from this bucket. You push or you put it into this tank, this drum. Again, you go back and put this bucket, and now by the time taking this is full now. So like that, you are taking this water and pushing it here. You're taking this water, pushing it here. So these are where you're collecting fresh water. Okay, but what is the problem with the buckets? Buckets are in small size. But all the time you're collecting the fresh water, fresh data here, and the bucket is full. You're taking the water and dumping into a bigger drum. The drum is known as a tank, is known as a data warehouse. So to understand, this is also made up of a plastic, and the bucket is also made up of a plastic. But why are we calling as this as a bucket? Why are we calling this as a tank? Only thing because of this is having large capacity and this is having small capacity. Okay, so these are called OLTP applications. OLTP means, in our example, now you're able to understand online transaction processing. Here you have always fresh data, fresh water there you're collecting. Fresh data are known as a live data or known as a current data. For example, whenever you buy a mobile phone, you are connected to OLTP application. That application could be Android application, Java application, SAP application, mainframe application. You are connected to OLTP application. For example, yesterday I had deposited 10,000 rupees. I had transferred 20,000. I had recharged my mobile with some currency, and I paid the Vodafone bill. So I had paid the credit card payment. So lots of things you are doing daily. So all these are, you may be using SAP, you may be using Android, you may be using .NET, you may be using any the bloody application. Forget about it. But the data is collected. So all those things are collecting data. That data is fresh data. Hence, those applications are known as OLTP applications. So OLTP stands for online transaction processing. Whenever you do buy something, do something, do any kind of a work, and if the work is having some kind of a transaction, transaction could be anything. For example, I inquire, I call up a customer care, I inquire, are there any dealers in my area? So they will take what's your name and what is your area. So we're going to send you something. So it is not buying and selling, it is some kind of an inquiry. That is also a transaction. Transaction means you have to talking about here fresh data. Whenever you're generating the fresh data, to store the fresh data, the company would have implemented some kind of an application, could be Android, Java, or .NET. So the fresh data, live data, current data. But whenever we're referring OLTP, it is a small data. That's we have to remember. Probably you may have GBs of data. Clear? So could be you may have some 500 GB of data you're storing in your OLTP application, some 600 GB of data. So what is the, when you go to this slide, so this is the problem with OLTP application, the size limitation issues. When the bucket is full, you have to transfer the old data and you have to come here. But now, daily I'm taking manually and pushing it here. And somebody told, John came and told, Bhaskar, why are you pushing the data manually? You buy one motor. So I had bought one motor and the motor is ETL for me. So I fixed it. So the source connection is the bucket and this is my motor. ETL is my motor. The destination connection is my tank. So as soon as the bucket is full, I switch on the motor, the water goes to the tank. So now ETLs you have to think just like a motors only. ETLs are simply known as data import export tools. So now we are going to use the motors when you have a large amount of data. Otherwise, manually we are going to dump. So when you're talking about ETL, ETL always have to use When you have large size data, otherwise, if you have 10 rows or 20 rows, you say, please find attached file. 10 rows you can attach in the mail. The person who's sitting in the destination, he will download the file and copy paste manually into a database. So 10 rows are there, 20 rows are there. People would not going to use SSIS. So SSIS means we are getting trillions of data, billions of data, crores of data, lakhs of data you're generating altogether. Clear? Instead of putting the data manually, you are using now ETL tools. You have lots of tools in the market. Microsoft is having SQL Server integration services, that is SSIS, and Oracle. Oracle will have Oracle Data Integrator. Then you have Informatica. You have Data Stage. You have Ebenitio. You have lots of tools are available in the market. All the people are taking the data from here loading. So did you understand what is OLTP? OLTP means small size buckets only. One bucket could be a plastic bucket, one could be a silver bucket, one could be a gold bucket, the other could be some other bucket. So bucket is different, but what is common? The data is common. Whether you use Excel or SAP or .NET or Oracle, end of the day, the data is Amazon.com data. Amazon means product data and customers purchasing data only will be there. So only the buckets are different, the water is the same. But the problem with these systems are these someday will become full. When they are full, we have to start the motor and dump all the data to the warehouse. Then the buckets are empty. Now the question is, when should I start my motor? This is my motor. When should I start the motor? So it is, for example, you're getting slowly the data, you're getting a drop by drop water. So that means you have to come after 3 days and take the water from the first bucket. And the second bucket is getting and within 1 minute. So every minute or every 1 hour you have to start the motor. So some companies will keep data for 3 months here because they can accommodate the data for 3 months transactions. Then they start this. Some people every Sunday, some people every day midnight, some people every day 6 o'clock, some people monthly once, twice, or quarterly once, yearly once, like that. You can have different strategies. So to load the data to the data warehouse. So the data warehouse is known as a OLAP application. So wherever you're collecting the data, this is the fresh data, and you're pushing all the old data. Last 6 months I have collected the data, and now I have transferred. Now again, these things are open. These buckets are completely empty. Now I can take the data from here, and after 6 months I'll be pushing it. So data warehouse always will have old data. Current data is here. Old data is here. OLAP stands for online transaction processing. So I'm introducing one more thing, OLAP. Okay, OLAP means online analytical analytical processing. Are you getting the point? So all the data from the OLTP applications. So all the data from the OLTP applications will get transferred to the OLAP application. OLAP means we are talking about the data warehousing application. That's what you have to understand. So now what is the difference between OLTP and OLAP? You have to understand OLTP means small database. In simple terms, you can understand like this, buckets. OLAP or the data warehouse means large databases and you have lots of data. So online analytical processing, here the data is not fresh data because 6 months data you have put in there, so it is historical data. If somebody is referring OLAP or data warehouse, you have to understand what is it is old data, it is historical data. Why we are able to store the why we are storing historical data? I told you, because OLTP one day it will get full. So what should I do? Should I delete the data? No, you should not delete the data. You have to transfer the data or export the data to these applications. So OLAP refers to data warehouse. Data warehouse means historical data you have to store. And here we are storing about small data. Here we are talking about large amount of data. Large means the data here in terabytes. Probably I may have some 20, 30, some terabytes of data. So OLTP will have the data in GBs probably or less than terabytes. Here huge data, crores of data, large data. Here you have always read and write data, but most of the time you're having. So in this, more writing than the reading. Okay, because morning to evening you're collecting the water, more writing, because when you buy something you are hitting the amazon.com. So viewing and hitting and writing and reading, both of them are happening, but most of the time you will be writing up the data in the OLTP applications. But since it is a historical data, this data is completely read only data. Try to understand, it is purely read only data. So this is what you have to say when somebody is talking about what is a OLTP and what is OLAP. So OLTP always stands for historical data. Sorry, OLTP stands for fresh data. OLAP stands for data warehouse data, historical data. Why are you maintaining a data warehouse? Did you understand my question? We have to maintain the OLAP applications or data warehousing applications. When these buckets are full, you have to transfer the old data here. Now, why are you storing the old data? Why are you not deleting the data? The question is, I wanted to analyze the past data. How is the sales for Sony Bravia TV last 3 years, and which is the branch which is sold so many products last 2 years, and last quarter what is the sales happened in different branches? I wanted to have that kind of analysis. So old data is not deleted and old data is stored in the data warehousing application, and it is stored there. So have you understood? So every company will have two kinds of applications, OLTP and OLAP. And OLTP, the where end users are connected and all the data they taken it here and they have to dump it here. Now I have transferred 10,000 bucks to my father yesterday. Am I connected to OLTP application or OLAP application? I have connected to OLTP application because I have transferred yesterday 10,000. But 5 years back I have transferred say 1 lakh to my dad. Where is that data? That 5 years data, the 5 years back data would have been transferred to OLAP application. Try to understand. So that data would have been available in the bank, but not in the current net banking. So when you go to net banking and try to say the last 5 years data, the net banking will not be able to give you because net banking may have last 1 year data, last 3 years data. Okay, the last 10 years data bank will be in the data warehousing application. Are you clear? So OLTP stands for the small database. OLAP or the data warehouse stands for large kind of a database. Here you have fresh data. Here you have large amount of data. Here you have in historical data, read and write data, read only data, because historical means nobody should modify. So this data is collected by the end users. This data is collected and kept not for the end users. This data is going to be used by the management of the company. For example, CEO of the company, board of directors planning to use this. So the OLAP data, the end user cannot see. For example, I had opened one account in citibank.com. I am always connected to OLTP servers only. I never connected to OLAP servers because OLAP servers, it is not meant for me. It is for only the business people, the board of directors they're going to use. So OLAP applications are not meant for end users. Try to understand. But every company will have OLTP, every company will have OLAP. So understand, without OLTP, OLAP doesn't exist. OLAP stands for historical data, large data, read-only data. That's what you have to understand. Clear? So when these buckets are pulling full, then I am putting switching on this motor. I am pushing the the water here. But one day the water the supplying the water they have supplied is completely bad, but I have to take the water because I have to clean and use it. So whatever the data you're taking, that data you have to dump into staging database. So where you have to clean the water, you may apply RO, reverse osmosis, or you may do some kind of a chlorination, or you boil the water. Some kind of techniques you're going to use in this tank, and from this tank, when the water is clean, and what you do again, you put one more motor in this. So here I did not mention SSIS. Again, you have to use SSIS because from this location to this location, the data has to transfer. You have to buy one more motor and fix it up so that the data would reach you. So get the data. If the data is not so clean, put it here and clean the data, and clean data, put one more motor and dump the data into the data warehouse. So end of the day, last 20 years the data of Citibank is stored in this, and the last 6 months data of Citibank or 1 month data or 1 year data will be here. So after the year comes and December 31st, Jan 1st, they're going to delete all the data from here and they're going to dump the data here. So not sorry, not deleting, they're exporting the data. So ETL tools are just like a motors. That's what you have to understand. Okay. Now, if somebody says, what is a OLTP? OLTP stands for small size databases. OLAP stands for large database. That's what you have to understand. And read and write data, read only data. So here we're talking about, okay, here you have to use a concept called normalized tables. Okay, normalization is the concept heavily it is going to be used, and here we are going to use denormalized concept. Okay, so what is a normalization? What is a denormalization? I'm going to discuss during the data warehousing concepts once more so that you would understand. And OLTP application should have less number of indexes because writing is more. When the writing is more, indexes are very bad. So for reading of the data, indexes are more. You have to use more indexes here. Okay, so because you have read only data, most time you are going to read. So more indexes are here, less indexes are here. You have to understand like that. If somebody says what is OLTP and what is OLAP, both of them are RDBMS databases only. In simple way, I'll draw a diagram and so that you would understand. So who is given this classification? So the classification is given by RDBMS Guru. So RDBMS Guru only. So I said we have two kinds of RDBMS systems in this world. One system is called, okay, this one. The other system is this one. Okay, okay. This is what is called OLTP database, small database. This is what is called OLAP database. That's it. Okay. So OLTP refers to fresh data, fresh data, small data, current data, blah, blah, blah. OLAP refers to a database. Both of them are databases only. So OLTP will have small size and OLAP will have big size. So if you understand this diagram, you can easily say, so this is both of them are RDBMSs only. OLTP will have fresh data, current data, read and write data. So OLAP will have, this refers to data warehouse here. Okay. So both of them are databases only end of the day. That's what you have to understand. So you have read only data, large data. So who has given this classification? Dr. E.F. Codd. According to his rules, we have two kinds of data in this world, old data and the new data, fresh data. Fresh data you're going to store in the OLTP, old data you have to store in the OLAP applications. The question is, how do I say that it is my old data? Some people will say, I told you, right, when you're getting it drop by drop, so you have to keep the water in the bucket at least for 2 days or 3 days. When the bucket is full, you have to transfer. So some people will keep the data for 3 months. Some people will keep the data for 3 years. So it depends upon their strategies. Or some people may use, may transfer the data every 1 hour, every midnight. So something like this. So this is how the data would reach you. So end of the day, we are collecting all the data from the SSIS and putting it here. And this is what we have to understand. So if somebody asks, what is the ETL? And ETL is a extract, transform, and load the data. And when you see SQL Server history, we have a SQL Server started in 1999 as purely RDBMS tool. But when you take in 2005 what Microsoft has done, and here when you especially see here, RDBMS N plus MSBI, SSIS and SSRS and SSAS is implemented. So 2005 onwards we have MSBI, and the latest version is 2016. Here we have RDBMS and big data concepts also have been implemented. So June 1st, I think this software got released. Lots of concepts from big data. We have R language. We have lots of Hive, lots of big concepts have been implemented here in the SQL Server, the latest version of MSBA. So when the MSBA started means you can say SSIS started in year 2005. Clear? So now this is one more application. I have CRM, I have billing, I have ERP, I have flat files, and I may have other data sources. I have to take all the data and I have to dump the data so that I can have some centralized database so that the data may be stored in different places and put the data in the data warehouse database. And after that, I may use for the reporting or I may use for the analytics or I may use the data mining. So what are the things? Let us understand later. So this is how the enterprise data will be stored in a bigger data warehouse. So these are also small databases and the data may be in the database or the data may be in the flat files or notepads or Excel files. So end of the day, the data has to come here. So ETL doesn't have any problem. It can go to any application. It can go to any file and get the data and dump the data into the data warehousing application. Now, this is one more data. End user is doing some transaction. All the data initially will be collected here. From here, we are putting ETL in between. You should have ETL. This arrow mark refers to ETL. Then the data would be going to data warehouse. In between, you may have staging area also. I did not show that. Clear? But what is the transformation? Transformation means apply some kind of a business rules or convert data from one format to another. So when we're going about this example, now, sometimes you may have different notations. For example, here, are you male, male, female, male and female. So here, are you male, true or false. So different notations people are using it. When you have different notations people are using, so for example, in male and female, and in some place true and false, and some places are you male, yes and no. But end of the day, gender column, male, female, gender column. So here in the data warehouse, I should be having some kind of a standards. I have to maintain some kind of a standards because here I have to maintain only male and female. So what I'm going to do, so from this data as it is, you can dump. But wherever you have are you male true, so the true has to become M, the are you true and false, the false has to become female. Yes or no, S should become male and no should become female. You are changing this data to the standard data. So this is what in transformation. Transformation means to apply some kind of a business rules. What is the rule? You have to convert all the data to male and female only. So this is what is called a transformation. So convert, apply some kind of a business rule, convert the data. All these notations you have to remove, and all the data should have same kind of a notation. So this is what is called transformation. So transformations you have to apply, and you have to load the data here. Are they clear? So definitely the people would ask you one question: what is OLTP and what is OLAP? So at least you should be able to tell OLTP means fresh data, live data, current data, small size data will be there, read and write data will be there, and normalized tables and less indexes. OLAP means historical data, large data, read-only data, denormalized tables, and more indexes. Are that clear? So thanks guys. Any other questions you have?
I have a question, Bhaskar.
Please go ahead and ask. Please ask.
Okay, you said actually it is a relational database model, right? But you said at some point it is normalized and denormalized.
Right.
If there is a denormalized stuff over there, can we say it is relational database modeling? This is one question.
Okay.
The other one is you said about just OLAP and just is OLAP it seems like an iCloud, but it is, I mean, your OLAP is just, it is read-only stuff, but iCloud, how do you relate just OLAP and iCloud stuffs?
What is that iCloud?
Usually we use iClouds, like just to dump our memory. I mean, for everybody like gets, if you have an like Google Drive, okay.
So Google Drive is only for the sharing. I have some video files I wanted to share. Okay. But using a Google Drive, can you analyze the data? For example, I'm giving a video file to you. Are you going to analyze any data there? What is the storage capability? Google Drive. So it is not cleaned data. Are you getting my point? It is the purpose of the Google Drive is to share the my data with you. It is not to analyze. So analysis you have to make, and you have to clean the data and dump it there. And you should have a database there. Clear? So iCloud and Google Drive is not only storage capabilities. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Normalized and denormalized concepts I'm going to discuss later, because till that time you have to hold, because very very good point, we have to understand in depth why the OLTP applications will have normalized normalized tables, and why OLAP applications will have denormalized. See, normally one thing you have to understand. uh yeah, you can just put it up. Yeah, I'll just, yeah, you just mute the mic. So normalization is good for writing. So normally, so OLTP applications will have more and more writing. When you go to the Amazon.com, lots of the time you're dumping the data, you're asking the server to write your data, you're purchasing some data, you're giving you some address, you're doing lots of things. More writing will be there. So normalization tables are good. Normalization concepts are good. These are good for writing. Why normalizations? Let us discuss again, or you can refer my videos also. But anyhow, I'm going to tell you these points again whenever we discuss about data warehousing, how to build data warehousing. All so normalized. These are normalized table means these are good for writing. Okay, where writing is more in OLTP applications. Okay, so why normalizations are very very fast in writing? This concept we'll discuss later. And denormalization is good. These are good. These tables are good, or these are good reading of data. Good for reading. Okay. So when you wanted to read a lot and lot many data, you have to use denormalized concept. Okay. So denormalization is good for the reading. Normalization is good for the writing of the data. This you have to understand as of now. But slowly, I'm going to tell you why we have to use the normalized tables here, why we have to use the denormalized tables. I'm going to definitely tell you that point. Clear?
Okay, so we
Okay.
don't worry about the
Now,
data space.
yeah, as of now, you don't worry, because I don't want to dump into everything today. And one more thing. So to design OLTP applications, normally we use ERD modeling. What is ERD modeling? Entity relationship modeling. So this is the one. So you have to use. This is given by Dr. Peter Chen. So he is the guru of this ERD modeling. Okay. So design the data warehousing applications. Normally, here we have to use a dimension modeling. Okay, dimension modeling we should be able to use. These points I'm going to discuss later when we discuss about data warehousing. This is given by Dr. Kimball. Okay, so this is what is the another so designing of the OLTP applications are done by using ERD modeling. So designing of data warehousing applications are done by dimension modeling. This is given by Dr. Kimball. So some kind of a things we have to discuss. But if somebody is asking what is OLTP, what is OLAP, you should be able to tell them clearly the differences. Okay. Thank you so much. We'll continue tomorrow.
Okay.